Hi, this is George Vega, and you're listening to the Marvel Card Collectors Podcast.
Hello, everybody. My name is Ian Taylor, and welcome to the Marvel Card Collectors Podcast. I've made him laugh already. Look at this.
You did it. You did.
Brought to you by the Marvel Cards Fan Collective, an awesome community of card collectors and creators. You can find our two groups on Facebook, details of which are at the end of this podcast, so come check us out. With me, as always, is my co-pilot in all things Marvel cards. A wise man once said, "I would not want to live in a world without dragons, as I would not want to live in a world without magic, for that is a world without mystery, and that is a world without faith. Well, have faith, true believers. It's Norrin Rad."
That was good. Good stuff. Strong.
Can't take the credit for it. Like I said, someone else wrote it.
Yeah, but like it's your delivery that matters to me. You know what I mean? Your voice, your delivery, the swagger.
Bless you.
On point, baby.
I was looking for quotes about magic for reasons which will become apparent, and I found a pretty good one by Terry Pratchett. Have you heard of Terry Pratchett?
Yes.
The author? This made me laugh. Scientists have calculated that the chances of something so patently absurd actually existing are millions to one, but magicians have calculated that 1,000,000 to 1 chances crop up 9 times out of 10. You got to think about it a little bit.
No, I'm in it. I'm in it. I'm in it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm like beautiful minding over here. I'm like all the way.
No,
I'm
that's
deep
fine.
in the quote.
I mean, we've talked about this before. You know, silently being in it doesn't work on an audio podcast.
Oh, right. Sorry, I got to be more visual. Right. More auto. Okay, let me think.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm in it.
You are in it. Right, we're all in it together. With our guest this week. This young man is relatively new to our sphere of collecting, I think. He'll tell us more in a moment. And relatively new to the groups, but really sweet guy, really passionate about the cards. I'm going to ask you to introduce yourself, actually, sir, because I don't want to muff your name.
Sure, no problem. My name is Donny Caltrider, and in my relationship with Marvel, I'm a senior writer for Hipsters of the Coast, where I write about Magic the Gathering artwork and the art market, and have now taken my column to talk about Marvel Masterpieces 2020.
That's exciting. That's
awesome.
So tell me what and tell the listeners really what Hipsters of the Coast actually is, because I'd not heard of it until you joined the group, but I think it's been around for longer than that. Yeah,
so the site itself has been around, I think, for 7 or 8 years. I joined them in 2018 to talk about magic artwork. So they cover community culture and breaking news, and they have some format writers about people that play competitively, and they do a little bit of everything, but really exclusively Magic the Gathering stuff. And this is one of the first kind of more permanent branch outs. They would eventually like to cover more, gaming culture and geek culture and that sort of thing. So this is kind of a test run, if you will, to see how their readers respond and if we can get anything organically going. But it started as just a blog with some friends in New York and has really, really grown from there. So I love writing for them and being a part of the team, and they got some great folks there.
Wow. So did you know them before you joined them? Had you crossed paths with them before that?
A little bit. I used to read, some of their stuff because they were really, and still are, the only people that do sort of breaking magic news. A couple people have tried to do some things similar, but that's really who covers things that are happening and almost exactly as they happen. So I had been introduced to them before. They had a call out for writers. I started writing that stuff because I wanted to read more about it, but there were really only 1 or 2 other people that were writing about magic art at the time. So, It was kind of like a create your own content sort of thing. And it just grew from there.
Wow. Okay. So we've had at least one magic guy on, Bobby Nisivaccio. Oh, wow. I remembered his surname. Look at that.
That was good. Holy hell. Yeah.
Yeah.
Props to you. You get the Yeah, that was good.
Thank you. Who everyone knows in the group is Greg Bobby, who collects cards serial numbered 69. But he came over from the Magic side to join us, and he tried to explain a little bit about Magic. But it's still something that's kind of not really in the frame for me. What is breaking Magic news? You use that expression. What would be? Give us an example of breaking Magic news. What's news in Magic World?
Sure. So, like for what I do, it will be like. So this week's a good example. So there was a new set that came out, and Magic does a big Twitch stream and that kind of thing. And the person that I work as closely with at Hipsters, his name's Dave McCoy. He's kind of heads up the news operation there, and he will follow that basically the entire day, just like a news reporter would. As cards get spoiled, they'll post them out to social media, and he'll do a really nice wrap-up article at the end of the day to kind of cover everything that happened through the day. And that's the same thing, if cards get banned or restricted in a certain format, then he covers that. If something big happens, whether it's scandalous and not great news, or something really exciting happens, like somebody wins a big tournament or something like that. It's really anything. It just takes that whole little subculture, but covers it just like it would be outside of that.
Yeah.
Well, gaming and I've dabbled in Magic, nothing like you guys. You guys are next level. You know what I mean? But I've played Magic. I've had a lot of fun with Magic. My boy was into it a couple of years ago, and we just went crazy. And I've always wanted to collect Magic because I love the artwork. I've always been a huge fan of that. But the game mechanics are super fun. You know what I mean? It's always really thrilling. And gaming like Magic and Pokemon, there's always updates to ban cards that are gonna be maybe banned, right? Everyone's like, this is overpowered, this is going to be banned. Or sometimes I forget what it's called, but when cards are kind of reprinted, right, from the alpha sets or whatever, or like the mechanics of the game are reprinted, everyone's like, this part of the game's coming back. So from my experience of looking at Magic and Pokemon, you kind of have to be up to date with the game and kind of know what's going on.
It's always changing, and that's part of why I've been writing since I think it's April of 2018. I never have any there's never any shortage of things to write about. And maybe they do print a lot of product, and that's always been a concern, but the wheel just keeps moving. There's always something new. There's always a new artist to talk to. There's something else that I can cover. And it's been a lot of fun, especially this year where, I haven't gotten to play very much just because I don't enjoy playing online quite as much. I'd like the kitchen table or the local game store, kind of playing. So this has let me keep my relationship with the game, without really missing a beat, even though I couldn't really play.
Yeah, we try to do that with Marvel all the time. It's hard with Marvel, and that's kind of why we always stay very interview based, because it gives us an ability to talk historically what the set's doing, more modernly what the set is doing or whatever. But we definitely don't have those updates unless we're hunting for who the new artist is.
Right.
Which you've experienced that with the deep dive you've taken on Marvel. If you want to let us know what that is and clue us in on how that kind of came about.
Sure. So with Marvel Masterpieces 2020, I knew Dave's work from Magic. I've met him a couple of times. He is a regular at IX, which used to be called IllexCon, which is the largest imaginative realism convention, and it's in Reading, Pennsylvania. Not a very big place, but he's from Philly, so it's real close. It's only like an hour and a half for me. I've gone for the last couple of years. So I would see him every year at that, and then at the occasional Magic event. So I was familiar with him and his work, and I still remember seeing the Instagram post pop up that said he made a Marvel Masterpieces set, and I'm like, I haven't heard the term Marvel Masterpieces in years. I'm sure you guys hear it all the time. I, bought some packs of the old Flair cards in the 90s. When I was a kid, you get them, as a special treat or something like that. But then I saw that and I was like, wow, this is incredible. And he put up those first couple of paintings that were for sale. This is really going to be something special. And it just went from there. I've been hooked since, that was July, and that snowball kept rolling, and I'm still talking about it, and it's next year. So
I love it.
Gotcha.
That's the good thing about masterpieces, though. It's the gift that keeps on giving. You know what I mean? You think it's just going to be all that what's 2020, the year of release, is going to be about, but because it's such a tough set to chase, and because there's paintings, and Dave did it the right way by releasing the paintings to the public and giving everybody a chance to own some of the original art, which in the past has not been the case. In the past, it's very difficult to acquire the pieces, and it can be difficult. Bianchi did it the right way as well. Joe Jusko's stuff all sold at once.
Wow.
So I don't know if you knew, but
I had heard that, but I wasn't familiar with how the guys had done it before.
It's crazy. So MM16, Joe Jusko, was 92 when his set was coming out. That the whole set was bought up before release.
Wow.
So all the paintings were gone. Luckily, we had him come in the set and sell the prelims, so that was pretty much what the collectors could get.
Sure. 2016, yeah.
2016, and then 18. Bianchi is just phenomenal. Very much a marketing presence, and super active in the group, and let us in what was happening. Had a dealer, Comic Connect, I think, to sell the pieces, and that's kind of where you can achieve them. But he also did opportunities where the prelims could be in the group, and then of course, nice. Palumbo. After talking to Palumbo, Ian and I were talking to him, and Palumbo came to us with the idea of, hey, what has been going on in the past? How are things released? And fortunately, the prelims for like the Battle Spectre, everything that's not base, and the base prelims are redemptions for the cases. So if anybody doesn't know, there's a possibility of getting a redemption card, which you could redeem one of the base card prelims. And the prelims are 5x7? Is that right? I know you have one.
5x7, yeah, I can grab it here if you want to look at it a little bit closer.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, right. See how I dropped that subtly?
That's good.
So
yeah,
that's classic,
I love
right?
how you did that.
Classy.
Yeah, so they're 5x7, and they're oil sketches. He does them on this red ground. That's how he does all of his prelims.
Now that's shiny. So he's varnished it afterwards, I'm guessing?
Yep.
Okay, I'm with you.
Yep, so this won't need glass when it's framed.
So keep still. Don't move. I'm going to take a little snapshot. There we go. Lovely stuff. I love these snapshots.
Yeah,
no one always shakes his head whenever I do one of those, but they're actually so useful for people who can't see what we're doing. Now, tell us what character you just held up.
So that was the Mysterio canvas gallery.
Okay.
Yeah.
So behind, because I'm just going to get into it because they're behind your left shoulder, I believe.
Yes. Yeah.
So what is sitting behind you on that desk? Explain to our listeners.
Sure. So those are the two originals for the Mysterio cards. It's the base Mysterio and the full painting for the canvas gallery.
When we say originals, we mean the original paintings.
They are the original paintings. They're 12x16, oil on board.
Yeah. Absolutely wonderful. So you obviously were lucky enough to be able to get those, because I know it was a bit of a bun fight towards the end there.
It was really wild. It was, the Magic art market moves really, really fast. The Marvel art market moved even faster. It was really wild, because the first group of paintings he released, they sat for a little while. Like a couple sold right away, and then they kind of hung out. And I'd actually debated buying the Moon Knight instead of Mysterio, but it was here's 17 paintings that have been released. There's 135. I knew that I really only had the budget, and it would depend on when they were dropped to buy one, maybe two. So I waited, and I'm glad I did. And that first day, when you guys did your box opening that morning, it was like, okay, it was me and a couple friends were like, which ones do we think we want to try to buy? Because they were real small, but we hadn't seen them before, so didn't know when they were going to be released and that kind of thing. But yeah, it was fast. I had it down to about 7 seconds to be able to hit the purchase button, like with logins and the one touch, and it needed to be that fast.
Wow.
Damn.
Yeah, Beast. It was wild. Had never done anything like that before, but it worked.
That's crazy.
Oh, you clearly never tried to buy Marvel Weekly from the Upper Deck e-pack platform.
The painting stuff was insane. I remember being there waiting and getting the newsletter from Palumbo and just waiting to see when that was popping up. And Ian and I had a blast seeing the cards for the first time. I think everybody was just like, okay, let's see which one's our favorites. Yeah. Because it's true, right? And especially when you budget hunt, which I think everybody in the hobby has a budget. You know what I mean?
Right.
In some regard. So, and I think you have to be that careful about it. You have to kind of figure out what am I going to get? What am I interested in? What's going to be top tier for me? What's going to be low tier? But yeah, that website was a fun couple of weeks of mayhem.
It was a wild ride every Sunday. It was. And it was great to see it grow, and I'm endlessly happy for Dave that people just went ham on it, and just I think it's 10 left. I just verified the list with him because I try to put them at the end of every article. But there were 2 redemptions out of 135 to only have 9 or 10 left, plus the ones he kept. He kept about a dozen of them, I think, and has made some not for sale, I guess, for future shows and whatnot. And some that he's going to keep personally, but that's a lot of paintings real quick, and it was great to see everybody get behind them.
That's a lot of shipping as well. That's a lot of shipping.
It's a lot of shipping.
He's been a busy boy. Everyone else has had a pretty relaxing 2020, but he's been going off to the post office, or I imagine he gets them maybe picked up for that kind of thing being shipped. The crazy thing about that is that I remember when Black Cat was in that first wave that he put up in July, and I remember looking at it, I remember seeing it, and I didn't have even close to $2,000 because I'm paying off quite a lot of debt that I accumulated, so I couldn't afford it. And I very recently found out who acquired it because they shared it in the group, having framed it, and so I know it's gone to a good home, and I know it's someone that we know in the community rather than a complete stranger who is more on the magic side of things. So not just in terms of the fact that obviously there were people going to buy that who were magic people who might not have been in the Marvel Masterpieces group, so we'd never see it be off somewhere else.
Because and recently too, and this is a good way to bridge kind of magic and Marvel. A lot of the times the big problems is that things disappear and never see the light of day, and it's not like you need to know where every piece is, but it's kind of significant when they're one of ones. You know what I mean?
Of course. Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. There has to be some kind of important running tally type of thing. And I know people like to keep their stuff secret or have to keep it secret so they're not hounded and all that other stuff, which makes total sense. Do you guys have that issue too? Because I see like Vintage Magic. I see a bunch of people share the original pieces and are pretty vocal about what they have, but I don't know how much it is black hole collecting on your side.
It's a huge thing. And I'm still fairly new. I started collecting magic art in 2017, and that was right before things really took off for the first time. It's, things go in waves. They'll shoot up and then plateau, and then, the market spikes again. And when I joined the magic art market on Facebook, there were only 2,500 members. Now there's like 12,000. So, and that's been in the last couple of years. So it's grown significantly. But, even, the a lot of the old guys there that have been around collecting, they know where things are, and different people know where different things are. I know where some stuff is just, from a conversation at dinner at a show or something like that. And you learn those kind of things.
Wow.
But it's a real thing. And especially when it comes to things like doing a show of original magic art or something like that, you have to know those sort of things if you want to try to bring those together at some point. So it's a real thing. I try to keep tabs. Some people have spreadsheets, but of things as they sell and who bought them. But a lot of stuff now sells privately. So it'll be auctioned publicly, but it'll sell privately. No different than the Masterpieces stuff. So you'll see it crop up in the group, or somebody will share it on Comic Art Fans or something like that.
Yeah, I keep a hit list. You know what I mean? Just in case I read an obituary, I know what address to go to, to hunt it down. No, it's funny you say that, because I think 2017 was around the time I started thinking seriously about art and, original card art and getting into it. I got my first, I started getting prelims with Ian, and I think that kind of bit me really hard, where I was like, I need to, this is actually something I really, really like. And it's something I've gone really hardcore into. And it took me 2 years to acquire an original piece that I have, which is it's just the inks, but it's a 1990 Marvel Universe Silver Surfer, which great. Took me 2 years of asking a friend of mine who became a friend of mine, but he was the one back in the 90s who had a silversurfer.us.com site. So this guy, the OG Silver Surfer collector, a site that I used to like when I was, in high school or whatever, because I was born in 85 or wherever I was, I'll beep that out. And I was looking at it and I remember like saving images, putting it outside. You know, I feel like all of us created like those binders where we put like printouts of stuff we liked, like comic book cover. Yeah, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So I remember, and I saw silversurfer.us and I found him and I was like, oh my God, are you the owner of this site? And it just became this really nice friendship, and it took 2 years before it kind of he decided to let it go nicely to me or whatever. But it's a very difficult game to run for sure. And I think what's been really nice about the Magic community kind of sharing the card world with Marvel cards with us and kind of becoming with all of us becoming part of the same group is that we have been able to share resources. Like I've been talking to Magic people about how artwork is working for them, and I think it's going to become way more predominant Marvel card art for bigger communities in the future.
Sure, and anytime you have a crossover like that, you know, and it when Palumbo stuff came out, it was at exactly the same time as the art market was booming, but people were looking, especially for me, you know, Magic art has now, you know, the prices are starting to be past my collecting means. I don't have that sort of budget. So Dave's stuff, you know, I mean, it was no cheap thing either, but it was much more friendly. So my art budget this year basically was spent on Marvel. I only bought, I think, one Magic piece early on, and it was a preliminary. But yeah, it hit it like exactly the right time for people that were looking to branch out for something too.
Yeah, I think Dave priced it really fairly as well.
I would agree, yeah.
Which, you know, unfortunately, there were a few small incidences of people taking advantage of that and, you know, immediately trying to flip, as you know, we saw. I don't really want to dwell on now because I don't want to give that any oxygen. And Dave was completely, you know, on board with that particular incident and cancelled the transaction and you know, and offered it directly to collectors in the group. So, which I think, you know, which I think is actually really fair because, you know, there is a school of thought that says, in terms of pricing for unique pieces like that, there is a school of thought that says, well, it was priced too low, you know, and there was another school of thought that say it was priced so that everyone would have an opportunity to own some artwork. And, you know, I don't know whichever side of the fence you come down on that. I think ultimately it's Dave's hard graft, and, you know, he could price it however he wanted.
Yeah.
Well, you know, it was really nice because Dave reached out to me, and I've told Ian this is kind of why we were able to get him, and you've spoken to him as well. Dave asked me pretty early on before the release, what do you think prices should be? What do these things normally go for? And I walked him through all. It was very nice of him to even include me in the discussion, you know what I mean? Because it was very nice of him. But I remember I told him, I was like, yes, this can go to people who collect, you know, high-end Magic stuff, and someone can come in and buy every painting and have, because I know that happens in your world because I've spoken to people. You know, I know people. Yeah, they come by and like, I'll take everything you ever do, and then it's always gone. You know what I mean? And never touching it, or it pops up on eBay for 10 times the price. So I remember telling him, I was like, we're very lucky in the group, mostly because Ian and, you know, the other mods and everybody in the group is really diligent about keeping it to collectors rather than flippers and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, I remember very early on him talking to me and me being like, this price, this is where this kind of stuff is going. So it's nice to see all of Dave's hard work, that all the decisions he came to, you know, and ultimately kind of pay off. And I love seeing posts in the group of people saying, oh, I finally got this. They're framing it at the frame shop. It's just such a pleasure to have that kind of interaction in the group.
It's brilliant. And you know that when they're getting framed, you know, they're not going anywhere. You know,
yeah, that's a nice thing. Yeah.
Out of direct sunlight, of course, folks. For those listening at home, I'm liking the fact you've got the curtains very subtly drawn there.
Yep.
Which is great. I mean, listen, I haven't even got mine framed yet because it's a sloping ceiling room, so I can't actually put anything up in here, which is a shame. Anyway, so So this was your first, because you mentioned that you've not heard the Masterpieces name since, you know, when you were probably in school shorts, you know. So what? I've got no idea how old you are. I know how old Noah is, and I'm ancient. But did you used to buy those cards when you were growing up, or, you know, some people in America, people tend to buy either sports cards or Marvel cards or or didn't do either, or comics? You know, where were you in that kind of
Sure.
stuff?
So I'm 31. I was born in '89. So I'm a little bit younger than
That was the year I left school.
It's only going to get worse, man.
Oh man.
I'm old enough to be your father. Let's move on.
But yeah, so I remember, and I went to look for them last night, and I couldn't find them for today. But I remember opening a couple packs of Marvel cards. We would stop. I got on the school bus where my dad would work, so we would have to ride him from the house. It was only 5 minutes away, but it was so I could go to the school that was closer there to get dropped off, pick up the bus there. But there was a little place where we would sometimes stop and get, coffee or ice cream. It was just like a little convenience store, and they had Marvel cards. And every now and again, I'd either get a pack of cards or Spider-Man comic book. And that's really where it started. But, I hadn't seen them in years until I, moved out 6 years or 7 years ago, whenever that was. And then I haven't seen them again. I know where they're in one of the tubs I have stored, here at the house. But and then from there went to baseball cards, and then to Pokemon cards, and then picked up Magic cards, and really never looked back. Took a small break in college, like everybody does. Everybody has at least one or two breaks in whatever they're doing, and then came back once I had graduated undergrad, and the rest is history. Yeah, this is the first step back into Marvel since just buying a couple of booster packs in the middle '90s.
Wow.
That is. So I'm just curious, because when you very kindly sent me a link to where you collated all of the images of Dave's paintings and prelims, because I've been trying to keep an eye. I've got in my Google Drive, I've got an archive of as many images of the original paintings from Bianchi that I can have, and obviously Dave's as well. At some point, we're hoping that we can get a bigger website thing going on and maybe have an archive of some of this stuff there. Artists, if they're happy for us to do that. But when you sent me that email, the signature in your email just MA in Museum Studies from Johns Hopkins University. So tell me about doing an MA in Museum Studies. What does that qualify you to do?
That's a really hard job, actually. Sorry, that's a really impressive thing, man. I know how difficult that preservation and what that is.
Yeah,
really
it's
cool.
an MA for a start. So yeah,
it's pretty cool.
No, thank you. Yeah, I did that program from 2015 to 2017. I graduated undergrad from University of Maryland in 2011, and had always considered going back to grad school, but I didn't. 2011 wasn't the shining example of economic times and things of that nature. So, no, I went to work. My family has a car dealership, so I went to work there, where I still work, and I love what I do during the day. But in 2015, I decided if I wanted to do that, I needed to go back and do it. And Hopkins has a program that is 90% online, and then has one, it's like a 2-week condensed class where you go on site. And I went to San Diego, California, which was just a blast. But
Awesome.
What I did there is really focus on the education side and storytelling, which naturally led itself almost as soon as I finished grad school as when I started writing.
Wow.
So it was just that weird, natural progression. But it opened my eyes to a lot of different things on how you can interact with objects and, narrative storytelling within art, and things of that nature. A lot of the stuff that I talk about, in my regular week was all born out of the things that, I learned and studied there.
Wow.
Very cool.
I love
That's
that.
awesome.
And of course, Johns Hopkins is the one that everyone had never heard of until 2020. And then, of course, it's the kind of go-to source for the latest terrible stats on what's happening globally. So,
Yeah.
But I know they're kind of a big deal. So hats off to you, sir. Well done.
Thanks.
That must have been some hard graft. No, I love it. I love it when we have a boffin on the show.
A what?
A boffin.
I don't know what that means either.
You never heard of a boffin?
No.
Right, okay. Let me get Dr. Google on the case here, because I'm not making this shit up. I mean, you probably
I'm
think
starting
I
to
am.
think you are making this up. I don't know.
No. I'm not making this up.
It sounds real, so you're doing a good
Right.
job if it is made up.
To be fair, I've used it in the wrong context, because because it is more on the scientific or technical angle. But boffin is a British slang term for a scientist, engineer, or other person engaged in technical or scientific research and development. The World War II conception of boffins as war-winning researchers lends the term a more positive connotation than related terms such as nerd, egghead, geek, or spod.
The things you get on this podcast, Donny.
I kid you not. I'm looking at the
Love
Wikipedia entry for it now, so I don't make this stuff up. But we're interviewing a genuine, honest to God boffin.
It's great. I love it.
This is Mr. Mentor right here. I love it. So I want to talk about your articles on the Hipsters site about Dave and how he did the work. How many of them are there? 6 parts to that now?
So there's 7 now.
7.
And
Wow.
8 will come out next Monday. They're every other Monday.
Okay.
So there'll be 9 total, because that's 15 artworks each one. So there'll be 9 for the set review. I'm going to do one on the prelims. I'm going to do one about sketch cards, and then I'd like to do one about my Mysterio pieces if I can get them to the framer in time.
Okay. And they're titled Masterpiece Theatre.
Love it.
And I mean, you're probably better describing it than me. Tell me what the idea of each article is. What do you do with it?
So we'll take 15 paintings. I send them to Dave ahead of time, and the articles come out in the same order that he released the paintings for sale. That was the easiest way to do it, because it was 14 paintings each week for however many weeks, and then I'll stick one in at the end that either he kept or had been sold to somebody that had worked, on the set with him, something like that.
Yeah.
And that gave me 15. I was like, hey, this is perfect. So I would send him 2 articles worth at a time, and he would go through and on about half of them give me notes or something cool that we wouldn't know. And he'd also send along the songs with all of them, which I know he talked about when he was on the episode. Each painting has a song associated with it that he would listen to, was kind of and inspired by, and then the painting would be representative of a soundtrack. And he wasn't finished until he felt it was fully representative of that. And then when I write, I listen to the same song, and it's just a really neat experience to basically set a painting in motion, and it does that with so many of them. They're so complementary. It's really a neat thing, and that's what makes this set really so cool. It's one of the things.
Because I remember seeing the little post-it notes where he had, not post-it notes, index cards, I guess they are, because there's a photo, and on the top, on top of the stack of photos, there's the one for Black Cat, and I've zoomed in endlessly trying to read all that. Dave, if you're listening, if you ever part of those index cards, I'll quite happily take that one off your hand. And where he'd written kind of almost like thematically what he was trying to capture, and notes about and obviously relating to the song as well. And the Black Cat one that I played very briefly, and didn't get sued, no, which is good.
Nice.
It's always good.
That's good.
For that 20 seconds
letter,
or so of audio. No.
Okay.
Well, the thing is, I don't think they know where we live, but if anyone ever asks, I'll give them your address. So.
Thank you.
That's quite all right. You've been served. Whatever it is they say. The Black Cat one is absolutely perfect. Full confession, I haven't been able to dive into all of them because my time to do that is when I'm working. But when I'm logged into the work server, it blocks access to most YouTube videos.
Sure.
It's really frustrating. So when the page comes up and I click on it, and of course there was all little embeds under each thing for each of the because most of them on YouTube, and maybe only 2 of them each article work for me, which is really frustrating. But I love just like reading the notes, and there's some crazy music I'd never heard of, and when you play it, it's like, wow, that's like I didn't even know sounds like that existed on some of them. Because there's a pretty
really wild stuff.
Yeah, there's a wild range of genres and styles.
Oh yeah,
right. And like even for me, I don't like. Obviously, you listen to music and you don't think of it, but I don't know what kind of time could have possibly gone on into like, all right, this is what I want to do. Now I have to find a song to match with it. Like just that connection alone of Dave being able to know a song or think of a song or research a song to match some of these paintings is incredible.
Well, you see, I assume maybe we're hoping to have Dave come back on. So I assume that Dave already knew the songs, which makes me massive hats off respect for the breadth of Dave's musical kind of just like exposure. How many different genres? There's genres of music that I've seen in there that I didn't even know existed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's I probably know half the songs maybe per article. And that's a big maybe. But yeah, to know all of those beforehand and then be able to match them up, because some of them are really good. And even, he'll say that some of the paintings changed a little bit and they don't match quite as well as he would have liked. Sure. But then some of them they're perfect. I mean, they're literally perfect.
Yeah. Well, when I'm my aim is to finish my tier 1 to 3 and then sit down and actually spend some time going through them properly and maybe get them on a little playlist or something so I listen to them without being at the computer. And just immerse myself that way. So do you so when you've done 7, you've maybe got what, 2 or 3 more to come?
Yeah, there's two more for the main set review. There'll be 9. Okay. I'm working on 8 now, and then there'll be the last one, and that'll be all 135.
Wow. Okay. So I kind of know the answers to this, but what next?
So yeah, I gave you a little preview, and I actually just got clearance for it as well.
Oh, so you can't talk about it. Good.
I can. Yeah. No, it's what I want to do is take. I was able to buy the Bianchi book and Joe Jusko's book, and I wanted to look at them to see if I could put any connections together, because that's kind of been my thing for this year. Yep. Is to look, and I'm going to do the same thing in Magic as well, is to look beyond what just happened and see what I can do. And it's more or less just an exercise for me to keep that, keep flexing, that muscle and look for the connections. But there's, I think, let me pull it up on my other screen over here. So there's 42 characters that all 3 artists did. So I'm going to take and look at those, and I've split them up into some different themes, and some have, certain, like there's a lot of Spider-Mans, there's a lot of Wolverines, because a lot of those got double features. Sure. No different than what Dave did. And then there's a couple that just Joe and Dave did, and then a couple that just Dave and Simone did. So I'll spread that out. That will probably take me through most of this year. And it may go to a once a month kind of thing, just because they're going to take a little bit more time. Sure. And I have to find the images and things like that. But that's going to be the next project, is to look at, what I'm going to call like the modern masterpieces, 16 and forward. And with any luck, that'll, go right into the next set, which I'm assuming is going to be 2022. Obviously, we don't know anything about that yet, but that should take a little while to do it. And as long as, people keep reading and listening and whatnot, then I'll be able to keep writing them. So
yeah,
that's exciting, man.
Our understanding is 2022 is the aim for that, based on looking at you here, Norrin. But I remember when we spoke to them, and it is on an episode, so it isn't. When they said
they're pretty consistent with the years and stuff like that. So,
sure.
They're, how far they're into it, I don't know, but I'm sure at this point, everything's kind of, being drawn and everything's already in motion.
That's right. I remember now when we spoke to them, they said that they had selected the artists for 2022, and those conversations were happening, and they were on the shortlist stage for 2024.
That's fun.
Yeah.
Which is bonkers.
Yeah.
Crazy.
I'm interested just from an art perspective to see what direction they take in 2022, because, just looking at all these and getting ready for this next series, 2016 is a very classic, bright colors, very comic feel. And then 2018 gets super contemporary and a little dark and a little gritty, and that's very cool in its own right. And then you have Dave that kind of falls in the middle, with a much more, golden age illustrative, lends itself a little bit more to what people normally associate with the fine art world, which is just a neat thing. But where do you go from that? Do you go all the way back to, super traditional comic stuff? Do you do something totally different? It will be very exciting to see what they decide.
I'm really excited. Masterpieces is kind of is definitely my main set in terms of what I look to, and anything I dabble outside of Surfer is always going to be in masterpieces. Just
Sure.
that always ends up being my main squeeze.
Mm-hmm.
But it's funny too, because I'm interested to see the artists they get, right? And we've spoken to Upper Deck, and they said it wasn't intentional to get someone who was doing Magic the Gathering to do Marvel. Sure. It was just coincidental, because they really like Palumbo's work, and and so forth. Originally, it was just the work was very much interesting, but it worked out brilliantly because it's brought in a whole new group of people. Yeah. So I'd be very interested to see where they go with it. I don't know if they'll do another comic book person. I don't know if they'll do a name from the past. I do think it's going to be a very different different
Sure.
Type of execution. But I'm excited to see them figure it out for sure. And I think it's going to be fun regardless. And Masterpieces is about one artist on a set, other than 93, which is still a phenomenal set in my opinion. But to see them branch out and always have something different every Masterpieces, that's I'm here for that all day. That is exactly what I want. I don't want to see repetition. I want to see, you know what I mean, the new objective if possible.
Right. Yeah, that's what makes it really, really different and special.
Yeah.
Like for me, I don't know that I probably won't ever collect anything outside of the Masterpieces, and whether I do in 2022 will be entirely different. We'll see who the artist is and whatnot. But I know for this, I hadn't collected anything hard like that in a long time, and it was a blast just because of what Dave was able to put into a tiny little trading card from Big Size.
Yeah, definitely. 100%.
So the interesting thing about the next Masterpieces set, let's assume it does drop in 2022, which is now only next year. And if the artist or artists listening to this is probably knee deep in prep and actually working on it at the moment, probably hears me say that and has a slight involuntary muscle spasm. Because it's a lot of work, Dave himself said, and Simone jumped in and relished it, but from what I understand. So, and it's going to be the 30th anniversary.
Oh,
the next one. So it's kind of, if that artist is listening to me say that, they've probably had a second involuntary muscle spasm, because they're probably like, oh, okay, no pressure then. So listen, whoever it is going to be. It's all about how they market it and put it out. The quality of the work, I'm sure, will be there, because they know what they're doing when they're selecting these artists, clearly, and they wouldn't go for someone who wasn't worthy of the standard and the name. You won't have heard this yet, Donny, but it will be out by the time this episode drops. So I will tell you that on last week's episode, possibly, depending on when this drops, we spoke to Bob Budiansky, who was at Marvel Comics, and he was the guy who was kind of the editorial director, I think he said his role was. I'm remembering. He was the
creative director. So he was the creative. So basically, he was working a job there, working on Ghost Rider, right? So doing cover work from there. I believe writing as well, so forth. Yeah. And they hit him up, and Comic Images was the original publisher of Marvel cards. And Marvel cards before 1990 were simply traces of other people's artwork and then colored by new artists, done very well. And they're very nice things. But Marvel was like, you know what? Let's make this our own thing. Let's make an identity here. How do we develop this? So he was the guy that came up with the power meter, the bios on the back, the funny nicknames. He was the guy to bring in the first idea of having all original art by comic book artists.
That's great.
So Joe,
it's crazy,
basically. So he probably won't thank me for saying this, because even when we interviewed him, he said that he was, I think the idea, the actual strategic direction to go came from above, and he was the one responsible for kind of making it happen and then steering that ship for 11 sets, I believe it was, he worked on. I personally, from now forward, going to refer working with the guys at Impel, then Skybox, then became Fleer, is one of the people that made these sets happen in the way that they happen. Made the decisions that structure it in the way that we did. Anyway, there's a long preamble to say, because you haven't heard the episode yet, is that he specifically said that it was never an idea of theirs, and it was never an intention that Masterpieces had to be one artist. Obviously Upper Deck have gone back to that because of 92 being one artist, and then 2016 being them kind of relaunching as a premium brand with Joe coming back. But so that was quite interesting, because we got into talking about 1993 with him and 1994 as well. Anyway, you'll hear it.
Yeah, it was really nice. But just to say that, there is such a long tradition to these things. You know what I mean? They're and the Masterpieces definitely has that tradition, as well as other card sets. But yeah, Masterpieces is definitely, I think, for a lot of people, would be like the crown jewel. I think so, right, Ian? Well, would you say that?
Well, yeah. It's the biggest Marvel card brand, hence the reason it's got a group dedicated to it. That is, and I think if it wasn't as big a brand, then that group wouldn't be able to. It wouldn't happen.
Sustain itself.
It wouldn't sustain. Exactly. Yeah. And the beauty of 2020 is it's brought a whole lot of new blood in, and like yourselves, those new people are starting to look back at Simone's work, at Joe's work, at Julian Boris's work. Actually, 1996 is seeing a huge research. I mean, not that it ever went quiet, but it's just gone crazy in the last 6 months.
Yeah, I mean, that's something I wanted to ask you, Donny. How has been the card craze with you guys? Because I know Pokemon's blown up in grades. I know Marvel's blowing up because that's what everyone's doing with 96. What's going on with you guys?
So Magic has been a little different, and I don't follow the finance side of it and the pricing side of it, but with no events, which is where a lot of cards get bought or sold, or people buy them in preparation for, it's been kind of strange. And for somebody like me that's just a very casual player that wants to play in paper, I haven't spent anywhere near as much money on Magic singles as I normally would have. And I don't know that that's true across the board for folks. But there's also been an incredible product push by Wizards. So they had more Magic product come out in 2020 than really any year before, with a lot of supplemental stuff and some exclusive stuff. And it's all been really great, but you can't buy everything. So people have started to have to pick and choose and things like that. And I've done it myself, as far as, what do I want to buy to keep? What do I want to buy to play with? Do I need to get that right now at all? So it's been weird, but I mean, I've seen the same kind of thing, with the Pokemon taking off, especially this year as people have had more time to look into old hobbies. And then the 96 Masterpieces thing has been kind of a wild thing to watch, just as somebody fairly new. It was $20 a card, and then it was $40 a card, and people were buying it like crazy, $5,000 boxes, and it's that's been
$5,000 boxes. Yep, that's the first thing I thought too. I was like, holy hell!
It's like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, it's nutty. But I think it's funny too, because I feel like that's kind of the big push towards grading and stuff like that, and I feel like that's what people are doing. We've seen it in the hobbies before. People going for cards and then trying to crack fresh packs in order to get like a 10 or 9s or something like that. So yeah, it's been pretty crazy. But that's interesting to hear about Magic.
Right, and it's like I said, I might not be the best person to ask, just because of I'm really just a casual player that plays Commander and likes to play with their friends. But it's the prices have been, it's been kind of strange just without the events, which is where so much of that takes place. And even for me, when I bought cards, it was either because I was going to see an artist to have them signed, or it was because I was going somewhere to play. And without either of those things, it's, for me personally, it's just been a lot less, which is good, because it opened up, I was able to buy Marvel stuff this year, which I had no idea, that was ever going to happen.
Probably for the best, because it hasn't been cheap, I'm sure. Can we just take a pause, because someone else just came onto the podcast. One of you has a cat that's getting involved.
I do. Yep, that's probably my cat outside.
I could hear a cat meowing.
You can hear him. Yeah, he's not a big fan of being closed out.
Oh, Oh, I could hear. I thought because I never hear Norrin's cat. I never hear.
Well,
Norrin's
she's
cat.
a mouthy one, so I'm surprised you haven't because she's a nightmare. But no, I don't know where she is. Cats, man, you know what? Cats are the worst, dude. They show you on YouTube cats and they're being cute and cuddly and they're like meow and all this weird, stupid stuff. And then you get a cat and it's not the same thing. Damn it, it's not.
I have 2 cats, and I'm very fortunate because my 2 boys are the most lovable. It's Thorin, who's outside the door screaming, and Groot, who is the exact opposite. They're brothers,
Groot.
but yeah, Groot doesn't make any noise really. And Thorin likes to be in here with me if he hears me in here. So he probably just woke up and realized that my door is closed and that he can't be in here right now. But because he hears me talking about him, so now he's quiet. But
He's listening. Yeah,
Well,
he's got-
you live close, right? You like cats. That's good to know. Just send me your address. No reason. No reason.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Just casual. Just
Yeah.
casual. Just hang
Another
out.
exciting edition of Marvel Meowsterpieces.
Meow, meow, Love it.
We are going to get that off the ground. One of these days, we are going to get that off the ground.
Perfect.
So tell us about your I want to flip back to Mysterio. And the reason I want to flip back to Mysterio is because this is a good segue to talk about our artist intro. Do you like what I did there?
Dude,
That was
damn. On point.
That was it's a good job we kind of set this up before we started recording, isn't it? So so this week now this is our first kind of episode where we've had an artist intro who hasn't been on the show of this year. George Vega. I bow down with apologies, sir. So George sent us this intro back in June of 2020. You remember 2020? You know, it's kind of most of the world.
No, I
kind of got a
don't.
bit-
I blocked it out. So
yeah, the world kind of got a bit weird for a bit. That may or may not still be happening by the time this episode drops. Who knows? But George Vega, who you can find on Instagram under George_Vega, VEGA_art. First of all, isn't Vega the planet in Contact that Jodie Foster has a signal from?
In Contact, maybe.
Yeah.
I think it is.
I love
Yes.
that movie.
That's
I love
a good
that movie.
movie. Damn it! No one talks about that movie, but I like
I love it.
Contact.
And Matthew
It's nice.
McConaughey before the McConaughey.
Yes.
You know?
Yes.
So, yeah. I got a lot of
How
time for
nice.
that movie.
I
Yeah.
did not think that movie would come up in conversation today, but I have it.
No.
I really like it.
Yeah, so do I.
You've struck a nerve, Ian.
I know it's if I can strike anything at my age, I'm happy. I'm going to share screen so we're looking at the same thing. We've lost Norrin. Come back, Norrin. So George, Planet from Contact, is here. And George, apologies for the radio silence on that. We literally did kind of. I forgot. I'm sorry. I'm just going to hold my hands up, George. I forgot. We had so many artist intros sent to us,
Yeah.
and then it kind of landed around the time our first birthday episode dropped, and of course Julian Boris, and we were pushing on that, and then
Yeah, that's right.
and then yeah. So anyway, George, huge apologies, sir. Prepare, sit down for a few minutes because I'm going to blow smoke up your ass because I'm looking at your Instagram feed, and I love it. I'm just going to go to the top one here because I'm showing my screen now. What do you mean continuous? Stop it. It's asking me to log in. Instagram's asking me to log in. How unreasonable of you is that? Is that my profile? Sorry, bear with me. Technical difficulties. You guys talk amongst yourselves.
Okay. Well, I've known George. I've known George for a while, and I've always loved his work. I mean, I've told him that he knows I like his work. I've had a card of his. I've seen people buy cards of his. He's always a really good source for a sketch card. He's just recently worked on the Marvel annual booklets, which are super rare.
Oh,
and
yes.
extremely difficult
I
to
think
get a hold
I've seen
of.
him sharing those. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, he did some of the best ones too, in my opinion. In my opinion, I think some of the better ones are coming from him, to be honest, because they're just
That's
so
right.
clean, and all of them
The
look
battle
great. But
booklets. Yeah.
yes, the battle booklets. That's it. I don't know if he did anime. I don't know if I've seen anything recently on anime from him.
Sure. I'll have a look in a moment. Just because it's just dropped on EPAC, of course.
Yes.
A couple of days from when we're recording. So if he's on there, we'll just scroll to it. I'm just looking on his Instagram at the moment, and as we record, he's posted an X-Men piece that he's done, which is pen and ink, and it's just amazing. I just love the proportions and the layout of that.
That's awesome,
especially with Archangel at the top, and Mohawk Storm is always a good call.
I like Mohawk Storm. I really do.
He's got Weapon X Wolverine in there as well.
Yeah, I see him in the back.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. I like that. Oh, he's got some close-ups. Here we go. The joys of scrolling on Instagram, folks. There's a pro tip for you. Yeah, I love it. I really love it. Oh, there he is. There's Weapon X Wolverine. That's cool. I love it. The reason this is a segue into Mysterio is because when George sent me his intro, he also sent over, if I can find it, he says, clumsily navigating, a sample of one of his Marvel Masterpieces sketch cards, and it is Mysterio.
It's just beautiful coincidence, man.
Have you dived into many sketch cards on the Mysterio kind of collecting?
I have. So when, like I mentioned before, when stuff first came out, I was trying to decide, and Mysterio was the front runner. It's like, which kind of whip painting do I really want to buy? And I had almost settled on that. And then when I opened my first box this year, the very first sketch card I opened was Mysterio. Like, all right, well,
sign.
I guess
that's a sign.
Yeah, and it was a Brandon Warren Mysterio, and it was just bold and bright and just a fabulous card. And I was like, yeah, I guess that answers that question then. And then the more I dove into, the character and the backstory and stuff, what Dave did in the paintings, was like, all right, this is absolutely what I want to chase.
Typically, you focused on a character that had 2 paintings, so double the spend. But
of course, yeah,
you've nailed it. So thanks for that.
Yeah, but it's done, baby. And I love how those 2 paintings complement each other too. They really do.
Yep, and especially in person when I looked at them together, and I had said to Dave, he goes, they were almost meant as a complimentary kind of thing, and I'm going to frame them the same, and it should be really cool.
That's great. Damn. Awesome.
So I'm just going to go back to George's. I'm going to put the image of George's Mysterio card on the tasting notes, folks, if you want to go and have a look. But do go and check out his Instagram.
So clean.
Which will also be on the tasting notes. So this is an example of one of those battle booklets. It's Wolverine versus Hulk. I love the way he's done the trees behind there. It's such a simple little
Well,
effect.
he painted the trim too in the middle, and that for me is always a win. That is always a win.
Yes.
Especially with the way they're made, that is always a win. Very cool.
That's cool. Have they got art on both sides? They haven't, have they?
No, I think it's literally a booklet, like literally just inside, not Premiere booklet, where you have that sketch in the front.
I'm just wondering.
Yeah, I think it's just. I think that's only inside.
Yeah. No, but
good,
I'm assuming it's printed, in the same way a single panel sketch card is printed with "Congratulations, you have pulled," yada yada yada.
Oh yeah.
But of course, they've got double panel on the back there, so I'm just wondering what it looks like. I'm sure I could ask Dr. Google and find out, but I'm not going to do so right now. He's got some Batman stuff up here. What else has he worked on? He's got
Silent Hill, baby.
Rick and Morty.
He's got a bunch of good stuff.
What's that?
Silent Hill.
Yes.
Good head.
Wow.
Harry and Pyramid Head.
I really need to replay that at some point. PS1 version.
So good. Great game.
He's got some good stuff on here. He's got some very good stuff on here.
I think what I like about Vega a lot is that he not only has he done sketch cards for he's done it for DC, he's done quite a bit of different IPs. But what I also like about him is that he can do larger canvases as well and do covers. Very, very clean. Very, very clean work.
Is your boy. Mando. Yeah, he's done a few good Mandos on here. He's done a couple of Mandos. He's got the Child. Who else have we got in here? Oh, look at that Ghost Rider.
Sick.
That's nice. Love it. So I don't own any of your artwork yet, George. I'm hoping there's is that no? Hang on.
Yeah, he did a Surfer.
It is Surfer. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Inks over my drawing. Yeah.
Cool. Okay. So I paused because it's very easy to see an image and then suddenly misidentify it as Iceman or Iceman as Surfer. Because quite often artists do, and they're quite close unless you look at them because of the way they kind of fly around. I'm loving this thing he's got on here, the World of M.
It's cool.
Machines, Magic, Mayhem. Is this George's own thing then?
Maybe. Support us on Kickstarter, the World of M. Yeah, maybe he has his own comic book series.
Let's go now. Oh, hang on. Before I go and have a look at the link, that's a nice silk.
That is good silk.
That's a sketch card. Jonathan will be into that. That's tiny against that back.
Yeah. That's hard to do.
That. I wonder what the end. See, I love these process ones.
Yeah.
Look at that. He's gone from the very, very initial to there. I can hear your cat scratching to get in. He really wants in. What happens at this point if he does come in? Does he completely trash the place?
No, he's very good. He'll jump up on my lap and hang out.
All right. Well, listen. If you want to let him in, you're more than welcome to. I'm a cat man, but you may not want to do this. Look at this. He's got a 4-part sketch puzzle.
Oh,
that's cool.
That's a good one too. That's a good concept. With the radiation around Hulk.
Yeah,
that's a really good idea.
He's got Hulk spreads over the 4 cards, and then he's got a different Hulk character on each. What's that? That's got to be Betty Ross banner, and that's got to be General Ross.
Right.
Who's that?
Abomination.
Abomination, and bottom right is Leader. Yes. That's cool.
That is really cool.
I love that. Hulk. He's put Hulk Hogan in as one of the hashtags. Hulk Smash, cool. Hulk Hogan, Hulkbuster, Hulkenberg, Hulk Mode, Hulkmania, Hulk Life, Hulk World Order, Hulk Status, Hulkster. George,
he doesn't mess around, man.
George has swallowed the hashtag dictionary, folks. If you're ever wondering where it was, George was eating it. These are awesome.
He also does really good. Before we move on, I just want to say he does great Transformers too. We didn't mention that, but I think that's one of his main squeezes.
No, I can't. Listen, his Instagram has got all sorts of great stuff on it. So great go stuff. dive in. I'm just going to quickly go and look at this link at the top of his profile, which I think is for his here we go, World of M 2 Kickstarter. Let's have a look. So what's this all about, George? Because you didn't tell me anything about this. Probably because you emailed me so long ago that you hadn't thought of that. So it's
a steampunk fantasy adventure comic created by Vega. Wow,
that looks cool.
Looks awesome.
Scroll down and see a bit more about it. A steampunk fantasy adventure story set in a world where machines, magic, and mayhem are the order of the day. Sorry, I've read the name of the character. We follow Jack Mast. Mast. That's that's almost a porn star name.
His paneling looks great.
Yeah.
Like if you scroll down, you can look at a comic book page.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, it looks really wonderful.
That's good. And he's got add-on rewards there. I like that. So, George, we're going to put a link to your Kickstarter on the tasting notes as well, because this looks fun. This looks like a lot of fun, actually. I love the color. I love the colors on that.
Mm-hmm.
That's really nice. That's a lot of work there.
Yeah, that's really nice.
If you've done that all your own, that's a lot of work. George Vega, thank you. You're a beautiful man. I've never met you, but I like the sound of your voice. And so much so that we have not one but 2 intros from you. So who knows which one they heard? Did they hear the English or the Spanish?
The mysteries of life.
Well, let's choose now. Let's choose what happened in the past that hasn't happened yet for us.
Let's do English, and then we'll save the Spanish for something fun.
Okay, cool. All right. Thank you for being
that way,
nice.
because their first introduction to him in case they don't speak Spanish. But I love his accent. I mean, the guy's got it going on. So obviously he's popular.
Yeah. Thank you for existing, George Vega. We love you. And I'm sorry that we forgot your intro. Donny, you still there?
I'm still here.
Is your cat coming
Donny?
yet?
No, he's not. He's still outside.
Oh, okay. All right. Never mind. So you're on this journey with Mysterio, and your ultimate rainbow building, I'm imagining, because you've got the original paintings.
Yeah. So how far you want to go in on that?
Yeah.
So I would like to keep going. I have two plates, which somebody was able to, they reached out, which is good. There's only been one SSA that's turned up on eBay, and I lost out on that. It's the only one I've seen. I've seen none of the What If autos at all, and then no base plates. I have 2 of the canvas plates. The Red Spectrum is on eBay. I know some people that, both of you guys have got your eyes out for Mysterio stuff, and it's just not a lot of it came out in the physical product so far.
No, there'll be a lot more, which is actually something I was going to mention when we were talking about annual. Yeah, when EPAX drops, annual has so little of annual has popped up, and not many people have been breaking it. I don't know how much was released physically of the annual print run, but
right.
I don't think it's moved as much as maybe Anime and certainly Masterpieces did physically, simply due to the amount of it that's actually appearing on eBay. Because I've been watching, and there really isn't that much. There isn't that much popping up, and you can still get it online at all the various retailers. So you haven't actually seen that many battle booklets, for example. Was what I was going to say, which is why I don't think I've seen the back of one of them. But I think you'll find when Masterpieces does drop on EPAC, and unfortunately you'll get at best 48 hours notice, which I still think is crazy.
That seems wild to me, but
I believe it's slightly excessively demanding on collectors to give that short amount of notice, is my view.
Sure.
It personally causes me quite a lot of stress. It puts unnecessary stress and pressure. I think a week would be fair.
Sure.
I think a week would be fair.
A week helps you get in order. You know what I mean? And I think that is fair. I agree.
Exactly. It gives you time to think about, okay, if we've got to move some money around, if we need to sell a few things, whatever, But anyway, hey ho, that's as an aside. So when Masterpieces does drop, you will see, if 2018 is anything to go by, there'll be a sudden flood of inventory in the market.
That's kind of what I understood, is that you'll see a pretty good dip in prices on some stuff, and there'll be a lot more supply. And I've tried to be like, this is what I want to pay for purple, this is what I pay for a prelim, and stick to that. Just after talking to folks and seeing where they usually end up at. So I'll be able to finish some other things.
The trick of this set is it'll come on eBay, give it a couple of weeks, it'll sell out, people get the achievements, and then cards will be pushed onto ComC or eBay, and the prices will be reducted. Reductions will happen naturally. But what's nice about EPAC is this: if you've only seen one SSA Mysterio out there, the probability is that at least 5 or more are on EPAC. So you're going to see them pooled at least. You know what I mean? And that's when all of us night owls get up on EPAC. We're just like, what's happening? And refreshing and stalking everybody. Kind of like what happened with anime. But yeah, and that's what I tend to do, is I buy a box if I want to. When it comes to Masterpieces, I'll buy a box if I can, if I'm thinking about it, and I'll have something to trade. You know what I mean? Just in case they don't want to sell on ComC or whatever the case may be. Right. But now you still have plenty of time to get a good shot at that. You know what I mean? It only becomes difficult when someone starts going for like giant auto series, and then they start vanishing, Right.
I figured, having only seen one, and like I said, I took a swing at it on eBay, and it didn't sell for a ton, and realistically, I probably should have pushed a little bit more, but knowing that I should see at least a half a dozen more, I would think, between the group and EPAC, if they start to disappear, then it's going to get a little bit more difficult. And that's like with the plates. I had missed one of the Mysterio plates on eBay, and turns out that the person that had opened it had sold it to somebody else, and then I was able to trade that person for it. So that worked out really, really well.
That's great. And did you get one What If and one base already, or you just what'd you get?
It's two of the canvas galleries, actually.
Oh, nice. Yeah, those are good plates, man.
Pulled them out. Yeah.
I love those plates, by the way. The canvas plates are so nice.
Yeah, I don't know how the glare is going to look with that.
Got
angle them down. Angle them down. Angle them.
It's
up. Sorry, up.
You got to angle them up.
There we go.
Wow.
That's nice.
Dude, Donny, you killed it, man.
Yeah,
we'll have pictures of these on the tasting notes, folks. So for those who can't see them,
killed it, Donny.
big shout out to Dean in the group. So I've done a couple trades with him, and he's been great. Those plates came from him. My Spider-Woman sketch came from him. So it's big props
Dean's
to him.
a god, man. Good
Well,
guy.
while we're doing shout outs, this is something I just want to kind of touch on. I don't want to embarrass you or anything here, Donny, but I just want to say thank you, because we barely knew each other. You'd been in a group like not long, and you actively went out of your way to secure a couple of sketch cards for me at a point where I wasn't able to buy a lot of products. So thank you for that.
Yeah, man. You're more than welcome.
And I've got them here as 2 of my 4 so far Masterpieces 2020 Black Cats that I have, and they are beautiful. But I picked up my sketch case rather than my base case, because I have these rather lovely cases now, which I don't know if you saw.
I did, yeah.
Ian has showed me this every episode.
Every episode, yeah. They're here. They're so lovely.
Every episode, he has brought out those damn briefcases, and I'm so jealous, and he knows it. That's why he keeps doing it. I can see it.
Really cool.
He's like, hey, Fausto.
Every episode, I'd bring out my Black Cat binder, which was literally falling apart at that point, and usually kind of almost drop it because it was just in such bad state. And now I get to bring out my Black Cat collection, but it has an extra bonus audio for those listening at home.
I have to do it, Donny. You see this?
Oh my gosh.
And it's seriously, it's beautiful. And it's kind of like, guys who work out more can, pump their guns. I can do that. And, I'm happy with that. So bite me. But what I was going to say was, it is so nice when someone looks out for you. So there was a guy in the group. For the life of me, I can't remember his name now. This is really embarrassing. A fellow in the group. He lives in New York, Hudson on the. Matthew Farber. There we are. Matthew Farber.
Matthew.
Yes.
Matthew. Yeah.
He made sure I got that Black Cat printing plate.
Nice.
Which is beautiful. And the funny thing about that plate, and we've said this before, is that because of that she's doing that, they put the sticker on upside down on the back.
I love it.
Because of course they looked at it like that.
Ah, that's great.
Which is hilarious. And it does actually, it kind of does work like that as well.
I think it adds to it, though. I think it adds to it.
I like it.
Being placed perfectly. That's cool.
So all I need now, because I'm not going to be able to get the red Spectrum. Let's be honest. I haven't actually seen it pop out. So there's my 9-up. All I need is a what if plate to go there.
Beautiful. Good stuff.
So I'm not going for the SSAs. I'm cool without them. And it's like, I've got my metallurgy.
Yeah.
I've got my prelim. Yeah, I'm kind of happy with that. And that's because it's this thing with these rainbows. You can keep chasing them until for years.
Tell me that.
For years.
No.
Josh, don't bring up that stuff, man. Drives me crazy. Those are painful, Donny. They're done.
Yeah.
Be happy with what you got, man. Trust.
So
I've just been fortunate that a lot of the Mysterio stuff hasn't turned up. I think there's only been 3 or 4 metallurgies so far, which I know is a new thing, but somebody opened one, and I think there's one in the group and on eBay right now, and I believe one of them went to somebody that's putting together the set. But
yeah, there's 2 people doing that.
Still plenty of shots for that left too. So
I think
one
of
you get 25. I mean,
yeah.
Rule of thumb is this for me. This is my experience. I could be wrong. Other people have done this far longer than I have. Anything that's above 10 is possible. Once you start getting to 10s, you're having a hard time.
Sure.
The chase becomes much harder.
Oh yes.
Yeah. In my experience.
So what in terms of Mysterio? Obviously, we've talked about 2020 dropping on Impact. Are you going to pursue that character across other sets?
Probably not. I don't know that I'll actually buy any other Marvel product unless I have some sort of an attachment to the artist. I'm going to follow it for the sketch cards because that's something that I didn't know that I was going to love, because they're very similar to artist proofs in Magic. So when an artist does a card in Magic, they get 30 foils and 50 non-foil versions of that card with a blank back. So it looks like the card on the front, but the back is blank, and they can sketch it, they can paint on it, they do whatever. And I work with a bunch of folks, and I'll auction off stuff that they do for them if they want to do like a neat series or something special like that. So sketch cards are like artist proofs, but just a little different. And I've collected a handful of sketches just to go, along with my set, and I love them. So I know that Black Diamond Exquisite set's supposed to have some really, really nice sketches. So I'm going to get ready for that. I'll probably try to chase a couple of those, but I'll probably stick Mysterio just to this set for now.
You're a wise man in terms of the rabbit hole. Because once you veer out of those, what are those things that go down the sides of bowling lanes, stop the ball going in the gutter?
Guardrails.
Guardrails.
Yeah. Guardrails.
Once you step over the guardrails, it's like there's no next boundary to say, okay, well I'll stop there, and then I'll stop there.
Yeah. I already
posed parameters.
As soon as I started looking at the 18 and the 16 sets, with the 18 set in particular, I was like, I wonder if I could put together this. I was like, no, stop. Write your articles and be happy with what you have. Do not do that. So yeah, no, I'm going to try to stay right firmly in my lane.
Until of course 2022 comes out, in which case you'll probably be.
And then we'll see what happens. Yeah, it's hard to say.
Well, at that point, you'll be like Al Pacino in Godfather 3. Just when I thought I was out, they pull me back in. Well, whatever the impression is, I can't do.
No, the guardrails is 100% true. Yeah.
Do you? I guess from my obviously Magic is, from what I understand, it is very different. It's constant. Almost. I think you have 4 releases a year. Am I right?
So it's supposed to be like 4 sets a year, but now there's all sorts of supplemental product. So there's these 24-hour drops they do that were new last year, I think, called Secret Lair, and there's Commander decks, and there's a core set, and then there's a Master set, and there's a lot of stuff that comes out.
Oh, wow. Okay.
A ton of product.
Well, so I was just curious to get your take on what the biggest differences you see in the Magic scene to the Marvel scene that you've seen from the Masterpieces spectrum, and just top line stuff. And obviously it's so different because of the volume of product, I guess, is the biggest.
Sure.
Thing.
Yeah, I mean the biggest thing that I've noticed is that exclusivity, the exclusivity that we just talked about, because Magic stuff's obviously not numbered, so obviously certain rarer cards and foil versions of those things are harder to get, but you don't have the sort of, hey, there's only 1, or hey, there's only 10, or hey, there's only 25, or even down to the base card of only being 2,000. I mean, that's a hard limited number that might not matter right now, but 5 years from now, a lot of that stuff has probably found its way in there. So that's different. And obviously you have the, people buying cards based on what they do, based on what they look like. You don't really have the character thing. There's some people that, strictly collect, but it's really been, similar, but kind of an entirely different world, which has been refreshing for me as somebody that, inherently likes to collect things. So it's been fun to do that as opposed to, buying a card to play with, or just to have.
It's funny because I was at an LCS. I was at a gaming card shop, and my buddy and I was there. And I told you I went like a year and a half, almost 2 years on Magic because I was just excited because it was the first time. Because I was able to get into it for the first time and play with people, and just had a blast, man. Built a commander deck, did the whole thing. And I was opening a pack in front of the store owner, and my buddy's next to me, and we're just opening packs, and we bought some or whatever. I opened one, and I looked at a card. I was like, oh man, that's sick. Look at that artwork. And all of them are just like, yeah, that's cool, man. That's awesome. Because it was a common. There was nothing to it. It was like you can get it for less than 50 cents. But I was just looking at it. I was like, man, this is awesome. And I realized, I looked around. I was like, oh, shoot. I'm from another world over here, man. I'm far out of my bounds, baby. I got to step back here.
And, I get that because, some of the best artwork in Magic is on common cards and it's on basic lands.
Yeah.
Some of my favorite stuff. That's where I started reading someone's article. His name's Mike Linneman, and he's kind of one of the forerunners of writing about Magic. And his thing was the story is told on the common cards, and that's where some of the best artwork lives. It's not on the, mythic rare that sees play at all the tournaments and stuff like that. That it very well could be, but the commons are so often overlooked. So I love hearing that somebody opened that and was like, oh my God, look how great this is, because it's a real thing. I mean, some of the best artwork and narrative storytelling is on the cards that a lot of folks will never actually see.
Yeah.
Are there?
That was the big question.
I'm going to ask a really. This might be a really silly question, so forgive me if it is. Are there? Because you mentioned character collecting is obviously very specific to Marvel. Are there like characters that actually exist in the Magic verse or whatever you call it that go from set to set or might have multiple cards that people could character collect?
Yeah, and some people do. So there's legendary cards of people that have a spot in the storyline, and there's planeswalkers the same way that are big important characters to the overall story or what's going on. And sometimes they die, but a lot of times they'll turn back up on a different place as the story moves along. And there's also there's creature types people will collect giant cards or then sometimes people will collect islands, and people will put together global collections of cards in different languages, every edition of a card in every language that it was ever printed in. Some people just collect artist proofs that, they get sketches on the back and they'll make a commander deck full of artist proofs. And
whoa.
Yeah, which that's kind of the thing in that world that people really, really like to do. And artist proofs aren't tournament legal, but for the kitchen table, who cares? It's just a really neat thing.
But do they actually play and handle an original piece of art?
So they'll put it in a sleeve, and a lot of times it'll be double sleeved, but yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Wow. Okay. Yeah, sorry. That's interesting.
Well, I've seen some people do, which was pretty crazy, and I won't go off on a tangent. The thing that freaked me out was the card savers, how they put decks in card savers, and that's what they're doing. So like there's like these alpha, beta, whatever type of, which I'm not super keen on. As of knowing, I think it's cool, obviously, but like just giant card saver decks where they're just like shuffling through them and they're playing vintage. Pretty cool.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah. It's a wide world. I mean, I started playing in 2003. Magic was already 10 years old. So even I was technically, late to it, but they have an anniversary coming up, as well. I remember that first summer I played, I guess, was the 10th anniversary, and that was like a thing. And then, you got to see it turn 20 and 25, and it's been a lot of fun.
That's really cool. Mm-hmm. Well, I'm excited for the 2022. What anniversary is it going to be in for Marvel Masterpieces?
30th.
30th. Wow,
yeah, that's the
crazy.
thing. That's why I think it's going to be a big deal. So I'm wondering if they're going to do something a little bit different and add maybe another element into the set somehow, or maybe change the configuration, because we've had the very similar configuration, albeit with some twists. Obviously Metallurgy was new for this year. I can't imagine Metallurgy won't come back in some way, or even wouldn't it be bonkers to have a whole set that was Metallurgy? I mean, I guess you do in terms of the chase aspect of it. So yeah
because you get every card. I mean, it's only base, right? Metallurgy's only base, is that right?
Yes, but I'm wondering if EPAC will have
Oh,
if
metal.
Wow. It's probably too late now. But if I had a wish list item for EPAC release, it would be that there were metallurgies for the other chase parts of the set. Because I think the artwork just and we had this with 2018, and that the artwork has a different vibrancy and tone to it, because every time it's printed differently on a different material and with different types of ink and with different type of printing, the color spectrum is always very slightly different anyway because of the nature of things, and I think it's very I've always felt this way with the canvas cards. I don't think the canvas cards on any of the sets are very good in terms of the representation of the artwork, because they mute it quite heavily. But when you go to the gallery version of that, the gold gallery version, it's not canvas; it's printed on a gloss a stock with a gold border, and it's so much more vibrant.
So, well, it looks. I mean, obviously, harkens back to MM96,
sure,
and it just still, right? Even in those cards were thinner, you know?
Yeah.
They just look so nice with that. It's like half an inch, right? Of like gold border. I mean, it's a hell of a border.
It's a lot of real estate.
Phenomenal. Yeah, it's a lot of real estate.
It's a lot.
And
There's a lot going
funny
on.
Because a lot of these cards, it's a shame because the way they scan them in ComC, when you scan a card flat, you know what I mean? You run the risk of it not being very lush as opposed to when you see it in hand. You know what I mean? I mean, there's no way around that because it's such a mass quality. But I do think people really have to see all these cards in hand because I saw a Metallurgy in hand, and they look good photographed, but damn, they're heavy. Really don't. They're heavy. They're thicker than a printing plate. I think like 3 times thicker than a printing plate. It's not an insignificant amount, right?
Yeah, they're considerable. It was a really neat thing, and I didn't know that they were new for this year.
Brand new.
I opened one. Yeah, I mean that's what a cool thing.
Yeah, I think so too. I think that was a really smart decision because it gave it some freshness. You know what I mean? Because the number system is new, but this is the 3rd time we're dealing with that tier set. You know what I mean? And then, of course, the big thing with 2020, and I know we're dragging it on, sorry. The big thing with 2020 was the change in characters for tier 4. That was really crazy, Donny.
Yes.
Like I'm sure you've noticed looking back now.
Yeah, that seemed to be kind of a big deal to not front load tier 4 with the stuff that people were really gonna try to chase, which is cool. I love the character choices that Dave did in general because a lot of these people I wasn't familiar with at all. I'm not, I'm not a comic genius at all. And half of
Me neither.
There's at least one character every article is like, I have no idea who that is. I need to go figure this out. But
yeah,
that's that I
it's
understand
true,
that's
though.
a pretty big deal that tier 4 now was just a little different.
Yeah, I mean, Ego the Living Planet in tier 4 is just not what it was like for 16 and 18. And it's funny, I like to say that Ian had something to do with that, or the podcast has something to do with that, because we had a long episode, right, Ian, where we were like, I think the character choices for tier 4 should change up, because the problem with 16 is that when 16 came out, and if you liked Spider-Man, it's not happening. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
You were not going to get that base set with Spider-Man in it at all. Like, it just wasn't going to happen. Yeah. So it was kind of crazy to see it kind of flip the script a little bit for 2020. I wonder if that will be how now the new standard will be, or if we'll jump back and forth or switch outs or whatever.
I don't know.
I don't know.
Whatever 2022 ends up being, I'm there for it.
100%.
And Donny, I hope you are too, my friend, because I don't, I'd like to think that even when you kind of come to the tail end of your journey with Masterpieces 2020, you'll still stick with us and walk in our shoes as often as you can. So
remember,
I plan on
Donny,
sticking around.
Good.
Also, remember, Donny, when 2022 comes out, that means everyone needs to build up the fund. So a lot of good 2020 is going to go on sale.
Oh, yeah.
So that'll be the time to rule.
I believe that. Yeah. 2022 is going to be interesting for me just because if it's, like I said, if it's an artist that I know or that I particularly like, then it's going to be, I'll probably go back down that rabbit hole again just because that's what drew me, to this set. But we'll see. Otherwise, I'll be watching for 2020 stuff. And I'm still going to stick around. And like I said, there's a couple sketch artists that I've gotten to know over the last couple months, and I'm going to chase some of their work and from set to set. So that'll be fun.
Cool.
That's cool, man. That's awesome.
Well, Donny, you're a fine fellow. Thank you. Thank you for making this happen.
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys.
No, thank you. No, listen, thank you for being such a positive new member of the Marvel side of the hobby. People really dig the articles you've been posting and love the kind of energy that you brought, along with all the other Magic guys. The energy that you've brought to the Masterpieces and Marvel card scene in general is brilliant and really positive. So thank you.
It's been a blast, man. Such a blast.
It's a fabulous community, and I am happy to be a part of it. It's like I said, it was a fresh breath of air from the Magic side, and I'm just happy to be here.
There you go. Well, see, everyone needs to kind of cross the streams once in a while just to appreciate that the grass isn't always green. Or I don't know. There's a metaphor in there somewhere. I think
cross the streams is perfect. I love
cross the streams is perfect, except when you're at a urinal. Anyway, so moving on. Just to say,
wait,
we
you're
always
not
forget.
Supposed to. Sorry, go ahead, Ian. You were talking. I'm sorry. I'm just
this is what gets you restraining orders. This is why
the etiquette. I've been totally off on my game. Okay,
this is why you have a stay at home.
Someone else's funeral.
So we always forget to pimp this. I'm going to pimp it anyway. At the MCC Pod is our Facebook, is our Twitter, is our Instagram, is frankly my everything. I'm going to get that tattooed somewhere that you'd only see when you cross the streams. But go find us, follow, like, share, please. It really does help. Donny, thank you so much for joining us this week. You know how we sign off our episodes, sir. We'd love it if you'd take us out.
Sure. Enjoy collecting.
Thanks for listening to the Marvel Card Collectors Podcast. Visuals and tasting notes for each episode can be found on our Facebook page. You can subscribe and leave us a voicemail via our home on anchor.fm/MCCP. We're also on iTunes, Spotify, and all major podcast platforms. Please take a second to subscribe, like, and review our show wherever you get your podcasts. Our podcast can be found by Googling at the MCC Pod, which will also find us on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and Instagram. Our Facebook community is at MCCW, Marvel Card Collectors Worldwide, and MMC, Marvel Masterpieces Collectors. The great music we use is called Rocket Power by Kevin MacLeod. Thanks to the collectors, artists, and creators who support the Marvel Cards Fan Collective. We'll see you next time, and remember, it's a small hobby but a fun one. Make mine Marvel and enjoy collecting. So I've seen a photo of Donny, of Nolan without the beard, and even then there's a bit of the shadow because obviously you're.
Oh yeah, I shaved this 5 seconds later. It's back.
Yeah.
No, I'm basically a wolf man.
But
no, this whole body is like shag carpet, baby. Like this is. If I did transplants, it would work. I don't know. It's bull. I'm losing it up here, but everywhere else, I'm a fucking bear. I don't get it. I don't know why.
And it would increase in the other areas. Words of the wise. Nose and ears, especially. Nose and ears and back.
My ears, they have whiskers of their own. Like, it's really weird, man.
Yeah.
I don't like this.
Yeah.
But this is what I am now.
So news flash, Donny. The stuff that goes from there comes out here.
Right.
What is that?
But what I was going to say, have you ever skinned it? Have you ever done the whole?
Nope. So I've had this is a tangential, but I usually get my hair cut. Like I used to have my hair longer, and I would go and get it cut. But when I get a buzz cut, I would always just have my parents do it when I lived at home because we had a set of clippers, and it's easy. You just
I'll do it myself.
Right. So even now, I just have my sister cut my hair like every 3 weeks, and she did it 1 week. I said I used to get a 1.5, like on the trimmer settings. I don't know if that's the same in the UK. Maybe it is.
Yeah.
But when I said 1.5, she put on a half. So it was basically bald. But I've been keeping it that way. I'm due for one now, but we call it the Oops Special, and it's a 1/2. So it's even better now. I just keep it that short, and I like it.
It looks good on you, man. It looks good on you. I think I'm gonna look like Tommy Pickles when I get it, man. I don't think it's gonna look good.
That's what I was gonna ask. Have you ever had a special, Nolan?
Nugget. No, I'm gonna look like a nugget. I have bumps. It's weird. It's gonna look stupid. That's whatever. I don't care.
Well, you're either going to look like Marty Feldman out of Young Frankenstein, or you're going to look like, or you're going to look like Vic Vaughn out of that prison movie that he was in, or you're going to look like
I haven't thought about that in a while.
Vincent D'Onofrio from Kingpin. Although he was smooth, he was.
Oh, Vin! I love Kingpin. By the way, that's a great movie. You ever seen that, Donnie?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, anybody can pull off a kingpin if they hate themselves, Ian. That's the whole point of a kingpin. Okay? Once you get to that point where you really despise yourself, you just do that kind of flap over hair thing. Is that who you're talking about, Kingpin?
No, I'm talking about the Kingpin, as in.
Oh my
the
god, I'm
Kingpin
talking
from
about the
Daredevil.
bowling movie. I'm an idiot. I'm talking about the bowling movie with Woody Harrison with the flap. I thought you were making fun of me. Oh god, I saw you guys' faces like I'm not saying the right thing here. Yeah, no, Kingpin.
I was wondering where it was going. I was going to literally give you enough rope to.
I was looking at your faces like Ian usually looks at me like I'm crazy, but this is new for Donny. Donny's usually nicer about this, so I was way off. I saw, but yeah, I was thinking Kingpin like the movie.
You know what?
Yeah.
I just
don't know what's gonna
realized.
happen.
I just realised I haven't stopped clicking recording, so this could be an extra bit bonus for after the credits.